Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. So how can you get started using Globus? Anyone can use Globus right now for free to transfer files between Globus-enabled systems. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to
Closeness, proximity, I need it. Bondage, closeness, proximity, I need it. Bondage. When the world divides into two people, those who have felt pain and those who have yet to, and I can't unsee it, though I would like to, posing in bondage. I hope you come home soon. Closeness, proximity, I need it. Bondage, closeness, proximity, I need it. Bondage.
It is loud in my mind today. I'm jumbled up, I cannot think straight. No matter how many steps I take, everything feels so far away. It is loud in my mind today. I'm jumbled up, I cannot think straight. No matter how many steps I take, everything feels so far away. So I'll puff out my chest, take a deep breath. I'm gonna be okay. Yes, it's loud in my mind, I'll take my time. I'm gonna be okay. I'll puff out my chest, take a deep breath. I'm gonna be okay. Yes, it's loud in my mind, I'll take my time. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. It's just a bad day today. I'm gonna be okay. Now what did Auntie Gladys say? She said, puff out your chest, take a deep breath. You're gonna be okay. Is it loud in your mind? Just take your time. You're gonna be okay. So go ahead and shine real bright. You are the light. So go ahead and shine real bright. You are the light. Go ahead and shine real bright. You are the light. Go ahead and shine real bright. You are the light. Puff out your chest, take a deep breath. You're gonna be okay. Is it loud in your mind? Just take your time. You're gonna be okay. Puff out your chest, take a deep breath. You're gonna be okay. Is it loud in your mind? Just take your time. You're gonna be okay.
Checkity check, 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 check. The tip of the teeth and the tongue, the tip of the teeth and the tongue. Tip of the teeth and the tongue, the tip of the teeth and the tongue. 7, 7, 7. What up, though? How we doing today? How we doing today? A little bit later, about 20-ish minutes-ish, we'll be talking with Pyro Tyrant. In the meantime, we got some really interesting news to look at. Okay. So I ended up this article was featured in the book. The Alignment Problem. This paper. And this turns one of the aspects that we look at, that we talk about, we generally all believe is correct, is that empathy is not something you are born with. It's something you have to learn and something you have to exercise. And while I still agree with the fact that it's something that you do have to exercise, it may be that you are in fact born with at least aspects of empathy, right? Altruistic helping in human infants and young chimpanzees. Human beings routinely help others to achieve their goals, even when the helper receives no immediate benefit and the person helped is a stranger. Such altruistic behaviors toward non-kin are extremely rare evolutionarily, with some theorists even proposing that they are uniquely human. Here we showed that human children as young as 18 months of age, pre-linguistic or just linguistic, quite readily help others to achieve their goals in a variety of different situations. It requires both an understanding of others' goals and an altruistic motivation to help. In addition, we demonstrate similar, though less robust, skills and motivations in 3 young chimpanzees. So like one of the points indicated was that like there was a the adult was having for the purposes of the experiment difficulty in opening a door, and the child came over and opened the door for the adults, and then wandered back to handle their own business. It's an interesting concept, that would indicate, rather than like having to learn all the aspects of empathy, we are in fact born with them, and some of them are limited by our interaction with the world, right? It's always an issue of how we raise our children, right? So, it's absolutely interesting concept, at least for me. And then the aspects of, like, by extension in the book, they were talking about how it is easier to learn via demonstration, right? Like, you can be told to do a thing and told how to do a thing, and you will have some capacity to learn how to do that thing. But if you are shown the thing being done, this goes a long way to speeding your learning of how to do the thing. One of the examples cited was some rock climbers, how they were climbing this ridiculous climbing face, right? Like, just a like sheer ugly ass wall, and the people involved spent 8 years planning it out and going up and trying different spots, and it took 8 years to go from 0 to being able to climb this face. And then the next person to do it was able to do it in weeks, because they had already seen that it could be done, and they saw how this person had gone about it. So when teaching AI, it may be of benefit to combine ways a particular AI might learn through a combination of, reinforcement learning, inverse reinforcement learning, demonstration. Like, it won't be as for best results, in my humble opinion. It won't be as beneficial to just rely on one method of teaching. And as AI is a mirror, fuck you, John Oliver, we can see how applying, like, there is the issue of learning styles, right? And there are people who indicate that there is no such thing as a learning style, right? Like, that it's, you learn all the things, right? All the ways. But I don't know if that's in fact the case, or if they are. It was a Veritasium, which is usually well researched, but distinctly possible that they're not fully aware of all the things. I don't know. But I know that people's capacity to learn better, as indicated, like, you could be told or you could be shown, and if you're shown, demonstrated, then you will absorb the information better and faster. So I think that the real answer is, like, somewhere in the middle. and people make YouTube videos in order to get clicks. La 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 la. And then, by extension, there's this other PubMed piece, 2 ways to make your robot proactive, reasoning about human intentions or reasoning about possible futures. Robots sharing their space with humans need to be proactive to be helpful. Proactive robots can act on their own initiative in an anticipatory way to benefit humans. In this work, we investigate 2 ways to make robots proactive. One way is to recognize human intentions and to act to fulfill them, like opening the door that you are about to cross. Like as I indicated earlier with, the child, being able to teach that child, or not teach the AI to be more like a child in that regard, has tremendous advantages. It's going to sound like a small thing, but think about it, right? If you have a closed door and your arms are full, like let's say you're carrying the laundry, and you can say, robot, please open the door for me. And always be polite to the robots. It will help us if there's an inevitable AI revolution. Little joke. Or if the robot just anticipates, the robot sees you walk in the room with full arms heading towards the door. If the robot can open the door for you in anticipation of your needs, not only does it save you a small bit of time, but there's also there's a change in your behavior, right? Like there is a thing that happens when you are walking towards a door and another human being holds the door open for you, doesn't hold the door open for you, holds the door open, but at that weird, awkward point that's just too early, and now you do the little hop step to get to the door faster, these kind of things. These will influence your mood. And when they influence your mood, they are going to influence your behavior. And while one minor incident doesn't necessarily have a huge effect on your day, multiple minor incidents over the course of a period of time build up. So if you are having a shitty day and that person doesn't hold the door for you, then that could be the thing that kind of sets you off. And the idea of the robot anticipating your need to opening the door for you like that will have a small but incremental improvement on your day. The other way is to reason about possible future threats and opportunities. Where am I streaming from? I'm streaming on OBS. You're talking about where do I want to have a conversation with you? Will be in my Discord. Do 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 do. What up, Pyro? Do 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 do. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. Are you in my Discord already? Do 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 do. I think you are already in my Discord. Light shining through on you. Yeah, whenever you're ready, Pyro, just any of the voice channels and I will pull you into interview. The other way is to reason about possible future threats or opportunities and act to prevent or to foster them, like recommending you to take an umbrella since rain has been forecasted. In this article, we present approaches to realize these two types of proactive behaviors. We then present an integrated system that can generate proactive robot behavior by reasoning on both factors, intentions and predictions. We illustrate our system on a sample use case, including a domestic robot and a human. We first run this use case with the two separate proactive systems, intention-based and prediction-based, and then run it with our integrated system. The results show that the integrated system is able to consider a broader variety of aspects that are required for proactivity. So I think that this is a fascinating concept as well. Again, like, just, you're about to leave, right? You're about to head out, and the robot says, hey, you're probably going to want to take your umbrella because it's supposed to rain, later than you have your umbrella, It's, and as always, these will be in the Discord after the show. One final piece I wanted to look at. I got an article here, about whether apparently Mark Zuckerberg did a pivot away from the metaverse and towards AI, and that, like, he will be walking away from AI or from the virtual reality business world, which was a stupid idea on its face, it was a poor, goofy idea on its face, and it's not something that anybody asked for, or anybody would want, but went ahead with it anyways. And I will throw that link also into the Discord. But this piece right here, high-resolution image reconstruction with latent diffusion models from human brain activity. Oh my God, right? Like, this is the one of the things that, as an artist, there is a loss that happens between brain and hand when you're practicing the art of creating. You will have difficulty reproducing exactly the thing that's in your head. And what usually happens is that over time, as you're creating, the original vision gets modified to more match the thing that you are creating. But what if you could, in fact, create the thing that's in your head? And this is what they are working towards, not specifically for that intent, but it is a thing. Reconstructing visual experiences from human brain activity offers a unique way to understand how the brain represents the world and to interpret the connection between our computer vision models and our visual system. While deep generative models have recently been employed for this task, reconstructing realistic images with high semantic fidelity is still a challenging problem. Here, we propose a new method based on a diffusion model to reconstruct from human brain activity obtained via functional magnetic resonance imaging. More specifically, we rely on a latent diffusion model termed stable diffusion, the same stable diffusion that is being used for the AI art. This model represents the computational cost of DMs while preserving their high generative performance. We also characterize the inner mechanisms of the LDM, latent diffusion model, by studying how its different components, such as latent vector Z, conditioning inputs C, and different elements of the denoising UNet, relate to distinct brain functions. We show that our proposed method can reconstruct high-resolution images with high fidelity in straightforward fashion without the need for any additional training and fine-tuning of complex deep learning models. We also provide a quantitative interpretation of different LDM components from a neuroscientific perspective. Overall, our study proposes a promising method for reconstructing images from human brain activity and provides a new framework for understanding diffusion models. So these are this is the framework, right? Where they get or the subject gets the presented image, and then they use an image encoder and a semantic decoder to create an image decoder, and then get the reconstructed image via the diffusion model. And they provide you with some examples here of, like, this is the image of the bear, and then this is the image of the bear as created by the diffusion model. Right? And this is like a park or it kind of looks like a park, but it also kind of looks like a graveyard. But then it's like path, trees, and then you see path, trees. There's a plane, snowboarder, clock tower, right? Before anyone jumps in, it doesn't look like... Okay, the fact that it can do it at all is what's impressive, right? Everything else gets refined with time. And then this shows you a visualization of the denoising process condition with human brain activity. And it gives you a better look at home about what these different images look like as they come out of the diffusion model. And then these are some pictures that none of us understand. Because it's a little complex. This is the paper. They're going to be apparently releasing the code. And that is pretty hype. So, again, look for that in the Discord. And speaking of the Discord, we are going to transition over to the Discord. All right, I have to close my Discord and reopen it because Discord is still janky. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. There we go. And we grab Mr. Tyrant. Check.
There you are.
There we are.
All right. Let me get my camera and stuff ready, and then I will start my. There we go. Yeah. What's up, Globus? How you doing?
What's happening?
This nigga said, "Fuck my couch in my own chat." I don't know how to feel about that one. Hold on, let me just pop out the cameras and shit. Let's go. Why does it look like that? Nope, that's powerful. I'm sorry, I'm just bad at this apparently.
No, you're fine.
Oh my. Interview. There we go. There we go. Okay, now I can turn the audios on. Introduce yourself, because I'm the Pyro Tyrant, and the people in my chat already know who I am.
I am Globus the Elder. I stream Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, usually Mondays and Fridays. I talk about AI, automation, robots, all those related items. And
Hold up, I'm saying I can't be heard on my end. Testing 1 2 1 2. Okay, this bitch is just stupid. This bitch is just stupid. I'm sorry, Globus. You see, when us old men get together and we have tech issues, we rely on the youngins in chat to help us. But when the youngins can't get their shit together, we're all left to suffer.
Isn't that right?
I spent an hour messing with this, man. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Globus.
All right.
I'm just happy to be streaming again.
Oh no, I'm happy to see you. I really am.
Yeah.
And Wednesdays I usually talk with Arun. Lately, we talk about South Asian and Indian politics, and like that. So that's what I've been doing. And I'm usually live, as I said, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at about 5:30 Eastern or 5 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, I've been following your tech chats and stuff on the AI shit. Since that popped off, I've been really interested. So it was really cool when you gave me the invite.
Yeah, no, like I like kind of open the door, and it's like if anybody wants to come talk, I'm available, and like nobody's like reaching out to me, and that like every so often I'm like, hey, do you guys have opinions about this? And like most people do have at least some kind of opinion that they want to express, even if it's not like a like a technical opinion. You experience this, you're living with AI, you're living with machine learning. I think that more people actually have an opinion. They just don't feel like they know enough to talk about it. And I think that the inverse is actually true.
Yeah. So like I'm not gonna steal your thunder because like you are the host of all this. Like ask me your questions, do your interview magic.
Well, I want to like you seem
Oh
to
shit,
have...
Speaking of Arun, thank you for the follow, buddy. I love you, bud, but it's a shame you weren't following before.
Sometimes Twitch does make you unfollow people. So maybe they were followed before and they're just getting caught up again. I'll provide people that kind of cover. Because I know it's happened to me. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
You definitely felt like you had something to say. First, actually, before we get into this, the fuck was that panel, dude?
Oh, okay, hold on, because Globus he's all ready. Just So which part specifically? Which part specifically?
Like,
Because I got opinions on all of it.
whatever. It was just like I'm watching this, and then when you finally reached your limit, and you were like, "Shut the fuck up," right? Like it was like you were speaking for me because I wanted to be in there. Because that shit was so performative, right? And that's what I don't like about those debate panels as opposed to conversation panels. Is like everyone's speaking over it, and then everyone has to like do that image bullshit.
Well, see, my thing is like I enjoyed the panel like in the beginning because like you were watching, it was pretty chill while we were talking about Dilbert and like while we were going over that. And then early on, the reason I lost my cool is like early on, I'm sure you heard me say like, "Yo, I don't want to like take this and meme about it like we do all the other topics. This is shit that has been like, ignored for decades and centuries. Like we're going to treat it with some seriousness." And then like we start talking about like how some people feel on certain issues, and then like, oh, we can't do that because people get too personal with it, and then they have to dramatize it. They have to dramatize it to make themselves feel better. And I think that panel was a perfect expression of that. Like people felt attacked in some of the statements I said, and I'm inflammatory. I'm the pyro tyrant. Like I'm gonna do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got personal with it, and they dramatized it. It's like,
Right.
if people say, "Oh, you're just an old man ass hillbilly," like you might do the thing where you're like, "Oh, I am old hillbilly, who did do it?" And you make it look how ridiculous it is versus the actual you, which is like chill old guys smoking, vaping, just talking about tech and shit. Like because that's the hyperbole. And so on that panel, me losing my cool was a reflection of that. Like, we're talking about something serious, and like the mere mention of Harry Potter, we go towards the memes like, "Oh, you're just you're triggered, you're triggered. Let me get my Harry Potter garb." And it's like, oh, just shut the fuck up.
Right.
If you're here to meme, if you're here to get personal and make a joke out of things, shut up.
Right. Talking about the Dilbert thing, like like at least half the panel was like, well, you see, Scott Adams was experiencing this moment and he was trying to express, and you're like, no, dude was just racist, right? Like some shit really is that simple, right?
I think it's because of this thing where in history we look back at like things like Jim Crow, the 60s, civil rights. We look at it like it's like this ancient history, this ancient Egyptian history that like we have to parse out and figure out. It's like they wrote it down for us.
Right.
What Scott Adams was preaching to was the white flight. It's the reason of white flight. White people felt like they didn't have control enough on the situation, and that the blacks were just too angry and virulent. So we're going to move to neighborhoods where there are no black people. They can't afford to live here. And you guys help yourselves and we'll help ourselves. Like he said the quiet part out loud. And for some reason, we act like we've gotten all over all of that. We act like all of these people are dead and gone and already rotting, and it's just not the case. These are people among us. These are our parents and our grandparents that we're dealing with.
Right.
Like these are our neighbors, and we have to deal with the fact that people who weren't on the right side of history are still alive, and they may not necessarily be on the right side of history now. They may just have learned how to shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like my parents were, they were alive and running around during the civil rights era, right? Like,
Yeah.
if we qualify like 1968 as that year, that I'm
yeah.
born 4 years after that, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm right here.
Bro, my grandma, not my grandmother, shit. I'm sorry. I've had a birthday like since yesterday. I'm still on my drinking. So it's like, my mother, she was born in 1969, a year after that. So you know what that means for her specifically? She still went to like segregated schools.
Right.
She like her immediate childhood was like segregation in schools and then desegregation in high. Think about that. Like the early 70s when they finally decided to desegregate all high schools. She was alive for that.
Right.
And not many people look at history or the population or like marginalized people like black. They don't look at it like that when we talk about these issues. You get the thing where it's like, well, the statistics say, you know, and it's like, cool, the statistics, did they, I don't think anyone came and interviewed my grandmother on the sharecropping field. Like,
Right.
no one told me that story of like, and then a white man came and asked us our opinions on America to make it into the world census for historic, like, I don't, and that's, I think, a big m- it's a big gap in like when you get anecdotal
Hmm.
stories like I'm telling versus like the statistical retellings. Like the big gap a lot of people need help finding is like, how do they get those numbers for the statistics? Because when you're living your life and like you've never been interviewed in your fucking life for any of these opinions, and then you hear like the newest Gallup poll for 2023, who the fuck are they interviewing? Because it sure as hell isn't me.
Right.
Because boy, howdy, I would have a list of things to say to make it into that poll. I feel like every person would. Like, if someone from the government came and asked you your opinion on the state of the nation, you would have a laundry list of things.
Hmm.
But like, it doesn't necessarily work like that. So people are naturally hesitant to accept those statistics. And then on the same time, you can't accept every sob story on the internet because who knows? I could be fucking lying to you. I could be lying right now. Like my mom could be, you know, a teen dropout. Who knows? Who knows? I could make up any story about my. She was Amelia Earhart. My mother was like, I could do shit like that. And
Right.
if I'm not ridiculous like I just was, like it can be really tricky to figure out.
Yeah. No, 100%. And what you just said speaks to one of the issues related to AI and like the data sets, where you have these data sets that are drawn like with issues of the recognition by sensors and visual processors of black skin, right? Like this has been in the news on more than one occasion. These are because the data sets that are being drawn from don't have adequate representation. So this is one of the things I talked on a previous episode with Professor Q about is like how you have this separation between these you know like these studies and the statistics and everything else versus the anecdotal stories which are representative of the situation, and stuff is still being left out.
Yeah.
So
I
go ahead.
Go ahead. No. I didn't
No,
mean to
no,
cut you off.
no. I just it's a thing I do. I wait a pause. If it sounds like the person is not going to continue, then I say something to
Okay.
initiate the conversation.
Gotcha. Look, I get used to different people's conversations, but
Word.
with this issue specifically, I got into a huge argument a while back because I don't have the link. I'm a historian, but like I'm a bootleg historian. I dropped out of college during the pandemic. I got to my sophomore year. I study history. Like
Mhm.
that's my thing. So like when we're talking about technology and the way these data sets work and what they get to pull from, I don't have all of the technology, but I do know the basis of what we're talking about.
Right.
And this is one of the things I was talking about a few weeks ago when I used to do the Prime panels and shit with GSU Gambit. And I got, you know, he's a developer. So, like, I got all the text code, blah, blah, blah. I got ran around the fucking ringer. But it's like, no, the data sets, the problem with AI, in my opinion, is the data sets. If you want to have an AI that gathers images from like a Google or something, where it's like they have the rights and like you can distribute these images, I'm fine with that. And then you bring up the issue with AI that we've always talked about, where it's like black skin. Like it has a real problem because of the implicit biases within human nature of like telling black skin apart from animals. And that's a tricky thing to say because we want to believe that we're better than that. We
Mhm.
want to believe in the 21st century that like the geniuses that are developing these like enhanced artificial intelligence searching and compiling softwares, that they're better. But like it's something that we need to realize is a part of every field, that the biases you have leak into your creations no matter how hard you try and control them.
Mhm.
And that's one thing that we see with AI, where even in shit like Chat GPT, it's like certain inputs get certain results based on how you type them and how you phrase them in a political leaning. And it's the impulses. Like as a society, we see things and we have our feelings about them. And then when we create, we subtly put those in. And then with AI and artificial, it gets really tricky with that because you run into copyright issues, you run into identification issues with that. And then like you get some weird shit where it's like you ask it to type in a black astronaut and it gives you like Winston from Overwatch. Like shit like that is a problem because of the biases we have. And let's be real, the horrible nature of the internet overall.
Mm-hmm. Like from that is like the now talking with Computer and other people who have worked in tech, racism and things like that are an issue in tech. So I'm not going to say that that doesn't exist, but let's say that the developer is, you know, they're basically like a good person. They're anti-racist. They're doing the work, you know, to dismantle white supremacy in their own life, blah, blah, blah. They are still subject to all those aspects of white supremacy that exist within our culture that they can't see. Well, and I'll let you talk in just a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
The other aspect is they might type in, okay, I need a data set of human faces, and they provide him with a data set of human faces, but the data set is drawn from like newspaper clippings, and the pictures in the newspaper are, because of the history of the United States of America, going to trend white and going to trend male. So, like, even if that person is doing their best to make something as unbiased as possible, there are so many structural things that they might not even be thinking about. And what I've seen of people working in AI is there's a bunch of questions that they don't ask for one reason or another. And by all means.
Oh, yeah, you're 100% right. And I was just gonna hark on the same fact that, like, even if we take the hypothetical of the working man, the Jesus paragon who's trying his best to like be the best person, erase every negative, there's still those things that linger on just because we live in the society we live in. Mm-hmm. As an American, there are things you have to overcome when you meet new people from across the world because there are implicit stereotypes that get busted the moment you see new people. Mm-hmm. And those things do, like you said, they do get input into the creations even if you try hard enough to erase those things from yourself. Because like you said, if we look back through a historical lens, and we try and compile like a data set from historical view, then we run into the issue of like, well, our nation was horribly fucking racist and like half the nation wasn't considered people. So all of the news clippings, all of the famous people, they're going to be unambiguously white. Mm-hmm. And that's something we don't gather with, and that's something where like I've seen the complaints of that. I've seen people bring this up, and the excuse is always like, that's just the population. Well, like, no, it's not. It's the population we've chosen to view. It's the population, and it's just like Google, like these are the images that get the most clicks. So these are the images that when you type in like female doctor, these are the images that pop up the most. Right. Since most people view a female doctor as like a white brunette woman with a stethoscope, like those are the images that are going to pop up more.
Right.
And I know I've noticed this little bit of a trend, and I can't verify it, I'm not a tech guy, but whenever these big debates hit Twitter, the algorithm starts to change because more people are looking for certain things. More people type in female doctor, and then if they're not happy with that, they type in female doctor black or female doctor and then like it helps the algorithm get better. And at least my area, every time I've noticed that and I've tried to go on to that, it's like the first time it'll give me the basic Google result of like, you know, basic white guy, Walter Whitman, etc. The E is silent. But then it'll give me the next search like, oh, you know, the updated search with like, oh, here's a diverse cast of doctors and shit. So like, it's something that like we have to directly input.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you speak a good point there, which also reflects back on the hold on, somebody just dropped a big thing in my chat. Old Lobster. I've worked in tech for over 20 years. A big part of this issue is the minimally viable product. I'm not advocating this mindset, but this is a big reason we get white male as a default data set, because that satisfies the Pareto principle. It's tested among the devs who, wouldn't you know, are also largely white male. if a non-white male generates an error, it will fall back to be fixed later. But since it works 80% of the time, it's good enough for production. 100%, a total
Well, yeah,
agreement. And
there you go.
again, thank you for giving your I rely on talking to people who also have more technical skill and more boots on the ground. No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. I appreciate you. What I'm doing, I'm not an expert in this field. I just learn shit well. I can read and intake information and coagulate that information with other information to come to conclusions. I also come from a self-driven history background, right? This is just to me an extension of that. I'm doing the history of the future and the history of the now kind of thing. So having people give me feedback, I appreciate the shit out of it. Don't ever apologize. But yeah, I can't remember what I was going to say because that is an absolutely
can I riff off of that?
Please.
I think to that point, Old Lobster it's the thing that when you say it about the one field, it sounds really prophetic, but then we expand it. And then people get really angry. And I think that's the thing people don't understand. A lot of the shit in society is built the way it is because the white male is seen as the base. That's who you want to impress. You want to impress the white man because if the white man doesn't like it, fuck you. It's not going to succeed. The default, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's it's with a lot of things in society where even in content creation, I hear the conversations with how do we appeal to this base? How do we appeal to this base? Who's the most viewers? What do the demographics looks like? And it's you look at YouTube, you look at the people that are put on the forefront. It's where are your people of color? We're here. Where are your women? They're there. Where are your these people exist? Where are your elderly people? They're here. We're chatting with Globus, but they're not put on because the society sees it as geared towards the younger, middle-aged man.
Right.
So it's we have these issues in society where large segments just get pushed off to the fucking side. And then with AI, the AI in the searches, it becomes so exemplified because when most of us search this shit, we're not seeing representation of us or anything similar to us. We're seeing the society of the 1950s and what they wished it would be, which is, straight white guys with square jaws and brunette women. That's it.
Yeah, no, that and that really even if you allow for the fact that somehow America was post-racial, which it isn't, but let's pretend it is, who's still got all the money, right? Who is going to fund your project? The project is still going to be funded by older white men, and that older white man needs to be satisfied in order to give you the money because we live under capitalism. And all these things are reciprocal, just the nature of how we interact with all these systems. Even if 1968 changed everything, there's still 200 years prior to that in which it was a way that is has its own momentum that continues to affect us to today, which is why it requires that active, participation in changing and inclusion and all these other things that the right wingers get upset about.
No, exactly.
See, this is why we can't do debate panels, is because we're both on the same time, and it's not as much fun.
I mean, it's it's not any fun. It's you don't get anything out of debate panels, honestly.
True.
Debate panels are fun to. I don't even know if they're fun to listen to because it's just a bunch of people shouting. Maybe it gets the adrenaline pumping, but you don't get the actual issues.
Right.
But well, what are some of your feelings on AI art and the rise of AI? The different sectors of AI in general, because the more I see it, the more my opinions begin to change.
Okay, so specifically related to AI art, is fundamentally it's a tool, right? I don't see a fundamental difference between the Mid-Journey type art creator and a Adobe Photoshop type art creator, right? It still requires a human to input certain values and to participate in the process of creation. Related to that, the issue of the AI drawing from particular artist styles, from scraping their images off the web, and using that in its creation. I don't see an issue there, because as an artist, I have drawn from other people who have come before me. I scrape their data as I see it and add its own, complexity to my own.
Speak to that?
100%.
So my problem with that process and how AI art creates this art, it isn't so much that, this image is created using like the different aspects of people's arts, yada yada. 'Cause for me, as an artist myself, I don't use that as the art. I use that like as a tool to help get what the fuck is in my brain
Mm-hmm.
on a reference for me. So like if I want a specific type of spaceship and I can't really find the reference for that on Google, well, here's this Mid-Journey AI tool that I can type these words into. I can get that specific reference and then I can create the art myself.
Sure.
My main issue is when people who do this, they take that art and then they try and pass it off as like, yo, I did this. Because my problem is, and I've seen like many an anecdotal Twitter thread about this that's gone into detail, but like these AI aren't really creating the new thing like you are when you take these images and you like blur them and mix them up. There are noticeable copied patterns and shit like that, and like obvious tells, and sometimes even like the signatures are left in because they can't get rid of them fully. And like it's just really weird to me seeing like that be set at the level of creativity when I see it as like it's a really good tool for inspiration. It is a really good tool to help you get started and get the wheels of creation moving. But I don't believe it's the place to stop. I believe you take what you make in, the generator, and then you rework it and try and recreate it yourself into a more cohesive thing, because a lot of these images aren't that cohesive to begin with, especially if we're talking about people.
Like, okay, so in that regard, I do disagree, because okay, so again, because I visualize here, we found a place to debate. The because I look at it as a tool. Again, I don't see a difference between it as a tool and a Photoshop, what have you, any of those kind of programs, any digital art creation program that you create with. It's that same thing. And as far as like leaving aside the egregious instances of like where you can see Getty images blurred out, but you could still tell that that's what it is. The issue is not like stopping there. The issue for me is, like most issues, is capitalism, right? Like, it's the fact that the artist is doing this in order to survive, in order to feed themselves, in order to pay their bills, all that kind of thing. And then you have this company, and this company is getting money. And anytime you have a company that's getting money, you are going to be exploiting these, workers and everything else who might not even work for that company. So that's where my issue with it all comes in. Is it has to do with the, distribution of resources, like anything else. I think that if we were living in a post-capitalist system, we wouldn't even be having this type of conversation, because it would just be one more tool that people use, and like no one would have to say, I created this like all by myself, and whatever level of like obfuscation or lie that is, because it would be, oh, I created this with Midjourney. That's cool, like I have created a bunch of stuff with another program called Leonardo.ai, and
Yeah.
like I am using my photographs as a base picture and then letting the AI draw additional stuff on top of that. There, to me, like I looked at someone else on Twitter and they did a picture of Pedro Pascal from the show Last of Us.
That like in the examples that you're looking at and also the thing that you're doing, there is the work of like you're drawing something to put into the art thing. It's not just a thought pops into your head and you type it out.
Mhm.
Because for me, there's no effort in that because we're humans, right? Like we are a creative species. We have millions of thoughts a day.
Mhm.
But for me, the difference between the art creation of like someone going into Photoshop and like manually doing it themselves versus like saying that, this AI art, this Midjourney AI art is completely original in theirs without the
Mhm.
caveat of like Midjourney is the fact that like with Midjourney, and I've done it multiple times, the only thing you really have to do is type in what you want. You don't really have to do in and like you said when you're tracing something so it can fill it in. You don't have to really go in and draw that shape out and like, get that down. You don't really have to like put something of your own into it. You put in just basic generic words and it spits out a conglomeration of everything in the database that it think you might be looking for. And then like since it gives you a select few, you say, I don't like number two, I don't like number four, but I like three and I like three and one really good. Like let's enhance those. And then it hones it down and then like people will like use that to, create something and then pass it off as their own. When in reality it's like just shifting through the database. And like while that is a really good tool, again, to help you trace something out later on and like editing your own stuff,
Mhm.
I don't think at its basis, and I think you're right about like the capitalism issue. I think that's where my main thing comes from. It like it it's using all of the people's art as the database
Mhm.
when like if it's something like if this were something like Google, right? If Midjourney became like a Google type thing where it's like it's pretty much free at use. If you have the internet, you can use Google. They may run ads or something like that. I'm fine with that because then like the money they make is minimal and it doesn't detract from these artists, but it's when it's on these high subscription services and when it's like so monetarily driven that I have a problem with it. When it's closed off
Mhm.
and even the artist whose art is being used to make the thing have to pay arm and leg to get out like damn near half their commissions. That's my problem with it. And I
Mhm.
think because we are kind of trapped in this capitalist system right now, like it's something that I'm hesitant to say like, should be used to make art when we know that like the first thing that's gonna be happened is gonna be capitalized. Like as soon as Disney learns how to do AI fucking, animation shit, like say goodbye to all the animation studios. It's gonna be like a small building with four dudes in a room working 23 hours a day, just inputting shit into a computer so it can spit it out. Pinocchio dancing with Mickey Mouse and, Dumbo. Like shit like that.
And I
Mickey AI.
would push back on the idea that, like, because your question or your statement of, that it's useful as a thing where you can use it as a baseline to draw from, but it's not a thing in and of itself. Like using, actually spending time trying to get more specific outcomes from Leonardo.ai has led me to the point where like I am refining my terms. Like I have literal paragraphs that I am putting in to get these outcomes. And one of the things, not to cape for Leonardo.ai, but like it also offers the option of like negative prompts. It's like, I don't want to see this, and I don't want to see that, and I don't want to see the weird fingers, and I don't want to see the weird teeth, and I don't want to see all this bullshit. So, like, not only am I fine tuning the things that I want to see, but I'm fine tuning the things that I don't want to see. And to answer Old Lobster's message in my chat,
things out at a level that like that person did. It's replicating shit and putting it out in a pattern on the same level of, in your hypothetical, on the same level as a human. I want to, at that point, I would be in favor of like pushing it as far as I go. But like to the further point of it being a tool, I want it to be clear. I'm not against AI art. I like it. Like I use it. I like it for the simple fact that it's that tool. My complaints come from the artists I've seen.
I'm getting a raise.
His name keeps coming up over and over again. Every day, Pepe's mail's getting sent back to me. Pepe Sylvia, Pepe
Go
Sylvia.
ahead.
I look in the mail. Well, this whole box is Pepe Sylvia.
Get your raid on.
What up, Raiders? Thank you, James from the internet, for bringing in the raid. What up? I am not a possum. What up, Kensai? What up, Adric? What up, the Caplog? I appreciate everybody. I am Globus the Elder. I am talking about AI. This is the Pyro Tyrant.
Howdy.
He's an artist, streamer, a member of, like, we are in each other's sphere. We hang out with the same people. We're having a good time. We are pushing the limits of what is art, what is AI, what does it all mean. So by all means, give me a follow, and shout out James from the internet for trusting me with your audience. Elder Gang, rise up. Appreciate you. So,
dude, I'm glad you got the raid. That's
I
cool.
am too.
That is
I am
cool. Shout out to James from the internet.
Yeah,
I
the
always
last
hear good
time.
things about that guy.
No, he's a good dude. The last time that James raided me, I was playing Minecraft, and that was kind of less interesting, So I appreciate the
shit.
comeback,
Nice.
But okay, so like I don't know because
Can I try and narrow something down a little bit? Because
hit me
like
up. Hit me
thinking
up.
about it more, and I think again, it's the weirdest that like more of my problem with AI shit comes down to the lack of creativity in people. Because
Hmm.
again, you are right when like it helps you learn how to refine searches, right? Now that you know how to do these refined searches for shit, I'm sure Googling shit must be a hell of a lot easier.
Hmm.
So like it does teach you things like that, and these inputs in the AI can like mesh together some really nice creations for you. I think my thing is like when people limit themselves and they take that and then they like pass it off as their original work when we haven't quite reached the level of like where is this in society? Is this human made? Is this of equal value? And I am going to say that I am of a person that like, yeah, I like things to have, the human touch to them. I like the little flicks of emotion that people can explain in their artwork when they like created by hand and whatnot. So I
Hmm.
am a bit biased on this conversation, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm not, because I am. But like for
This
me,
name
that's
keeps
where
coming
it
up
is. 'Cause,
over and
like
over
again, like
again.
I
Every
like
day,
using
Pepe's
AI
mail's getting
as a
sent
tool
back to
to
me. Pepe
help
Sylvia,
me
Pepe Sylvia.
in
Look at the
this
mail. With this
creative
whole box
process
is
of like
Pepe
getting over
Sylvia.
art block or getting over writer's block or something like that, and helping me like create scripts and create stories or like create art pieces. But for me, it feels almost not sacrilege, but like it feels almost incomplete to take that and then present it as itself.
I mean, I get that. Like, but like that, like when we're talking about the subject of value when it comes to art, is like, let's say, as an artist, right? Let me give you this hypothetical, right? Sometimes you know that you have sat down to work on a piece and it is just everything's gone right, it comes off, you draw it, you do whatever, you create it, and it like and it was easy, right? Like everything went your way. And then
Yeah.
you've also sat down, and I guarantee you as an artist that you have a piece that you have been working on for an extended period of time and it's still not done, right?
No, you say that. Let me describe the piece to you. I have this like 200,000 by 200,000 reference sheet that I've been working on, no lie, for like 13 years. Like, and it's still not done. I don't think I'll ever get it done because every time I learn something, I go back and I rework it to try and make it better, and
Mm-hmm.
it's never gonna get done. But like, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry, you just
No,
that made
no,
me
no,
laugh.
no. I see. So I know what I'm talking about. So, if let's say, for argument's sake, that you did complete that work, right,
Yeah.
and then you brought them out, and they are like fundamentally like they are both 2,000 by 2,000 pieces, right? But the one you spent 13 years and the other you spent less than a day on, you cannot value as an artist those two things the same because your time investment, your everything around the one is obviously greater, but the person who's going to purchase them from you is going to evaluate them the same, right? Like they are both, for their purposes, two big pieces of art. So like I don't accept the premise that because a piece requires more effort or more work that it is somehow more valuable intrinsically.
Okay, so I'm gonna lay this on you, right? I'm gonna lay this on you. My position
Mm-hmm.
in itself is contradictory. I recognize this. I recognize the
Welcome to
contradictory nature.
humanity.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck exactly. Why did you that's exactly like humanity is contradictory by nature. We want peace, but we always do fucking war and we prepare like we always do these so I recognize my position is contradictory because you're right. I have typed in things to Midjourney and Leonardo, all these AI that I myself think like, damn, I'm just not gonna match this. That like I would pay for this. I would pay for this if this were like someone else. Like if I read this and I didn't know I would pay for this, and this would be good.
Mm-hmm.
So you're 100% right. But on the same hand, I think along with that, alongside the initial value, I take the and it may not be contradictory. It may be something that can work together if I like, rub the ideas hard enough. But I'm American. Why the fuck would I do that? But
Mhm.
like, I think for me, it's the initial product itself and then the effort it went to it. Like I have a commission right now that I've been waiting on for like a month and a half. And it's like, it's gonna be good. It may not be perfect, but I know like the person put their effort and their time into it and that they've worked really hard and like it's helped them expand their style. So there's an aspect to that I enjoy that I think a lot of artists themselves they like, but then like they see the AI thing as like kind of sacrilege and the lazy way out. When like in reality, I see it as more of a tool. Like if you want to use AI to help you draw, go ahead, be fine with that. But like I recognize my position and my adherence to like, human made art, if you want to call it that, is contradictory in the value of like it's still good. It's still a pretty good rendition of what I'm looking for.
And because now, hold on, Old Lobster has been great. So let's see what they got. I'm not trying to one guy you guys, so feel free to ignore. I value the origin of the idea more than the product of the art. I wouldn't buy a print of a Banksy, but if I learned that a person with a disability made a print of something equally impactful, I would certainly support that product via AI, obviously. This is one of those things is like, that there are people. We live in a capitalism. You only have so much time in the day. One of the arguments that I get that I really don't disagree with is that oh, you just need to, practice more. You want to be a real artist, you need to pick up that pencil and put in the work and everything else. Not everyone physically is capable of doing that, and then extend that out to, I live in a capitalism, so I got my job and I got my commute and I got my kids and I got my other shit that has to be maintained around at the house, and then I have so much time left at the end of the day before I try and scrape out 6 hours of sleep that I could either relax or I could, like, try to learn this new skill, or I could sit down and create something now,
Now,
and
can I?
yes.
I fully agree with that point. This is why when it comes to like ignoring AI for a second, things like tracing.
Hmm.
I fully endorse it because for me, one of the things I've realized is sitting down and drawing something and looking at it isn't going to get me the muscle memory that I personally require. So like sitting down and tracing something from like a Dragon Ball Z comic and like getting the muscle memory of that anatomy down, it helped me learn at a faster pace than sitting down and like learning from the book the anatomical references of the when you're gonna fuck up a time and time again. Whereas you said it perfectly. I'd rather sit down and create something. And
Hmm.
I've done it multiple times where I've taken like AI art that I've created like as a base reference and I've traced over it with like a little bit of detail, like I said earlier, to make it more cohesive to what I feel. Cause like it's not gonna be perfect the first time. And like if I don't have the time to draw, I don't really I might not want to sit down for like an hour or two trying to refine it through the AI. So it's like I'll trace it out and then like add in some refinements and then like I've created something. But the benefit for me is that like as I'm doing that, I get the muscle memory. So like even with something like a chat GBT, because I've seen a lot of shit. I've seen that come on under a lot of shitstorm. I think it's fun because it's taking from the database of writings and shit that have passed the mark of publication and things that we accept as good.
Hmm.
And like it's giving you that. So like if you ask for it to write like, yo, write something out in like a historical text, like it's giving you that. Write something out in MLA format, it's giving you that. And then like you can like cross-reference it with like the actual formats and shit. And then when you want to write your own things, you can build off of these references and look to that for
Who
more
will
research
stand
and
up for
shit.
this country?
And I think that.
And the answer
Oh
we're gonna
shit,
get
Old
is
Lobster,
Americans.
thank you so much for the
Antifa,
bits.
Black Lives
420,
Matter.
blaze
Appreciate
it and
you.
Up to
praise
them.
it. Thank you for the follow as well. Thank you so much, Dundee Man too. Shoot, I didn't even recognize. I'm sorry, I'm just wrapped up in the convo.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's one thing that I don't think that people understand is how much of what our understanding of what art is, in like, you look at like Van Gogh, or you look at like any of the old masters, or you look at the sculptures from back in the day, or any of that shit. Every one of those people had some rich fuck funding them. Like it did,
Yeah.
so they didn't have to deal with the realities of it. And like again, I don't ever want to come off as that I don't understand the struggles of the art community and how they are trying to get by. I just want them to also understand that at this point in time, you're defending your particular patch of capitalism against a threat.
Yeah, well, that's important to recognize, and I don't think it's anything to be chided, like you said, because like we do live in a capitalist society. Money can be used to buy things like food and housing and things like that. So it's completely fair. I think the one thing that a lot of the artist community, and this is a misconception that I've recently been changed on, because like when you started the series, 37 episodes ago,
Mhm.
and I was like asking to come on, I was firmly in the anti-AI camp. I was firmly, no, it's not art. But I'm here as someone who's like, and the contradictory position I'm talking about is like, communities like I use this for myself. If I'm using this, like I'm not trying to steal the art that is in the database that the AI uses. I'm using this to enhance my learning
This name keeps
process,
coming up over and over
expedite,
again. Every
create
day,
the shit
Pepe's
I
mail's
want to
getting
create
sent back
while
to me.
also
Pepe
not
Sylvia,
spinning my
Pepe Sylvia.
wheels
I
in
look at the mail.
stagnation
Well, this
trying
whole
to learn
box
the
is Pepe
process.
Sylvia.
Because that's depressing. Every artist recognizes how depressing it is to spend years learning the craft and then still not being perfect. To wake up one day and find you're 35 and like, you're looking and you're seeing 17-year-olds draw shit that's way better than yours because they've had the tools to learn, because they've had experiences and opportunities you haven't. So
Mhm.
like I think for the artist community, one of the biggest things that we need to realize is this isn't a threat to our capitalism.
Mhm.
Like it's like Google. Like Google isn't a threat because I can go on Google and like find some person's art and click and snip that down. Like I'm going to commission that person if the art I used to create isn't to my standard. If I still want to see it in their style, I think there's something to the individual nature of how we create art that maybe in our lifetime machines won't be able to get that will still be valuable. And I think it's that thing where we're doing the thing that people in the past did when new technologies and new things came out and we just disregarded it. But it's not art. You're taking the easy way out. You're not making your own paint. You're buying it at a store. Oh, you're buying paints at a store. Oh, well, it's us looking back at it as artists who have had to do the struggle of learning it through books or learning it through online references and seeing this new guide and it's like it's not legit. This is fake. This can't be a thing. And in reality, for me, it's just a really fucking good tool. I can't tell
This
you
name
how
keeps
many, I
coming
can't
up over
begin
and
to
over
explain
again.
how
Every
many
day,
times
Pepe's mail's
I've
getting
been in
sent back
art
to me.
block or
Pepe Sylvia,
writer's
Pepe
block,
Sylvia. I look at
and
the
then I
mail.
hit one of
With
these
this whole
AI
To your point, the backlash
holy shit.
against
Thank you, Phenomenatics, for the follow.
Phenomenauticus, member of the community, been on this program before. Appreciate them.
Thank you
Um,
so much for the follow.
the the backlash against photography from the painting community back when that like won its first art awards and everything else. I really feel that has a relationship to what we're talking about now. Is there will come a point in time in the future where like the AI art, the person who crafts um the quality prompts is like, this person can pick up Leonardo and drop in just the absolute perfect prompts and come in with the absolute perfect piece of art, that will be at least respected to an extent by some people as just as valuable as the person who can take the camera at the right time to the right place and do all the things with the camera to get the perfect picture. There's a lot of automation that happens in between the origin and the completion. And that's really
So
where I come with AI.
I agree with you. I think it's going to take a different direction and it's going to look different. It is going to look good comparison where you do have the things that have been run by automation, the cows and the feed, all of this is done by automation. These animals live terrible lives in, metal factories, automated and shit like that. But then you do have organic farms. You do have, the more y- quote unquote traditional way of doing things sold maybe at a higher cost, but it's still valued. I think AI art is going to be similar to that, where we do see it is recognized as art and it is recognized as a skill, but there's also going to be, and like maybe AI is on the side, but like it's going to be in, the competition with, quote unquote organic art. There's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be that competition because we, like, as humans, as long as we're completely biological, like we're going to have that competition within the broad population of like natural versus, more mechanic, more advancing. So I think this is something that like is starting to take play and we're starting to see now as AI starts to creep more and more into like of human dominated shit like warfare and art and music and shit like that.
The term we've been using here is artisanal. um you know but there is like when you see people create stuff with like the wood lathes that run and carve out the different pieces of wood and make that, like, it lacks whatever the human touch is that made it not that way. And I can see it because it's too perfect, and one of the
Yeah.
things I like about AI art is the fact that it's not coming from perfect and then working itself to human. It started off as like less than human with its bad fingers and whatnot, and it's working itself towards human, so it feels less artificial, right, but still like off, like. But
Yeah.
even the thing with the fingers, right? Like, have you ever seen a kid draw? Like, they draw all sorts of weird shit, and even
Yeah. Oh
artists,
yeah.
like professional artists doing professional work that they are getting paid for, if they are edging anywhere towards the abstract, they've got weird shit going on that isn't human, So, like, I just don't buy. I just have difficulty accepting any of the arguments except the capitalist one. Like, that's really
Well,
what it comes
no,
down
I
to.
think I'm gonna push you. I'm gonna change your mind because, like,
Bring it.
I think the capitalist argument isn't the only argument. I think because, and again, I'm in the artist community. I'm
Mhm.
of the mindset. I think the failure of artists, and it comes, and we're talking AI, right? Like just the broad spectrum, all of it. So like when we're talking I think there comes this thing when people think about it where we separate our influence in the AI and it becomes this other thing. We see it when we think of, sci-fi and media. They always turn against us and want to exterminate humanity and but it's like we created them. They have bits and pieces of our soul, our essence in them. And I think this is something we forget where I'm coming from it is like this is a new extension of humanity because you're right like the child like drawing seven fingers on a stick figure and like the weird proportions like we see that in AI and it's kind of similar to a child. It's new, it's brand new, we're
Right.
seeing this kind of for the first time, so of course it's going to be imperfect, but I think as it develops more and more we're going to see it be used in a way that like as I've hinted at, like in creating like prompts right now and like furthering on that, because that's what I use my childhood drawings for. And a
Mhm.
lot of other, like they'll go back and redo their childhood drawings in better proportions and shit. I think we're gonna see a lot of that. We're gonna see a lot of the AI, starting to advance and like going and creating these better art. And then as soon as we're able to do that, people will accept it as like an extension of our creativity. Then it will get to the point where you're talking about where like you'll have something that I've drawn and then something next to an AI drawn, and they will be seen as equal light because it is able to parse it out and create it on that level where like it mimics the human touch, and then someone had to go in and input that.
Mhm. No, I agree with that aspect of it. Like as I said,
I think in the present time, like we're just not at that point right now.
yeah, and I think that that's part of the problem. Like when you go on Twitter and you see, so and so, like the latest one is a little anime short from some company where they use a few different AIs and it's like two guys doing like action explosion stuff
Yeah.
and like that. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I needed to take that and take it to someone who had a better appreciation of anime and say, like, is this any good? Because that's where I was looking at it from. Like,
Mm.
there is so much anime that in cartoons that are, like somewhere there's a line between anime and cartoons, and I don't know what it is. But like when people tell me to watch Vox Machina, and I'm
Yeah.
watching the trailer for Vox Machina, and there's like what appears to be like cell drawn or at least mimicking cell drawn character, and then there's a full on CGI dragon behind them, and that disassociation between those two styles within the same visual medium, it just doesn't do it for me. I cannot watch that. As soon as I get to something like that, I'm going to lose interest. I'm going to get on my phone. I'm going to lose everything that's happening. Where something
Yeah.
like, Akira is visually like the same throughout kind of thing. So when I looked at it, I was like, this looks like a bunch of anime that I have seen. The fact that it's AI has no bearing on, whether or not it's like any good. And
Yeah.
when you mention this piece was created with AI, a lot of people have that gut reaction of just, oh, it's AI, it's terrible, I hate it, look, it's wrong, it's bad.
Well,
But go ahead.
I was actually surprised because, like, when I first found out it was AI, like, my surprise was like, damn, it's gotten good. I can't wait till they beta test it and I get to play with it.
Right.
Because, like, that's gonna be the fun part when they release it and let people play with it and try and create their own things with it. And I think someone in your chat posted something similar, like Phenomenatics posted something similar to this, but like I think that like this isn't so much as a bad thing, it's just the thing we're always going to deal with new technology. Scary. Look how scary it is. It's going to ruin our economy. It's going to ruin our way of life. Like we saw this with airplanes, we saw this with trains, we saw this with electricity, we saw this with like writing, we saw this with money, we saw it with every advancement in society that was new that led to better things. So I think like looking at this and like fearing, like you said, it's fearing for that niche area of capitalism, but it's lacking the foresight to see what innovations can be had with it. Like people imagine like, yo, it's just gonna run people out of jobs. I'm thinking, imagine the workload that's gonna be taken off of half the people if like this easy pittance of tech is like, you don't even have to download it on your computer. Like I don't have to download Midjourney. I could just like give them a subscription. Like now I have that on my computer. I can participate better in projects and shit now because like I don't have to spend hours and hours and hours creating.
Yeah, and like one of the things that I pointed to on a previous episode was like, okay, so let me lay the whole thing out for you.
Yes, sir.
We already have the Fitbits and the Apple Watches and stuff which read data from you, right? And how having something like that can read that data from you, it could have tremendous benefits for you. Like one of the things that happening when like you're trying to self-maintain, you have anxiety, these kind of things. Knowing any physical aspects that might have been leading up to that could have a benefit. Now, by the inverse, you can you watch a movie and certain aspects of the movie make you feel a certain kind of way. And when people make a movie that, the music is important and the visuals are important to make you feel a certain kind of way. So if I can take that Fitbit device, get that information, the AI gets that information from me, then using things like ChatGPT style advanced AI to generate a script, CGI and deepfake technology in order to have whatever actors I might want within the thing. Being able to request, I want a war movie, but I also want it to be like, to have like an inspiring ending. I want, action sequences. But I also want them John Woo style. The AI can learn what I like, and then I can sit down and I have I have 90 minutes to watch a movie. So it does all those things, and I am able to create a movie and an experience to make me feel a certain kind of way and enjoy that experience. Within that time frame. I see that as an inevitable product of all these different things coming together. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Oh, I think it's one of the more inevitable things about human nature that, it's hard to not hearken on the same point, but like we're just gonna fear it inevitably. Like the idea that things can just be automated and run and like produced so quickly is quite frankly scary, especially when we know that like remove all of our advancements, we know how hard it is. Like, think about how easy it is to build a house and how quickly it is to build a house when in the past, like, it took people the entire season to build a house. Like, it's scary, especially when there's an industry for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, someone in my chat said, rest in peace, typesetters and typecasters. And, like, yeah, it is scary. And it is kind of like a finality when you realize that advancement has come for your area of work next.
Yes.
But it's one of the inevitabilities that I think that like it doesn't help you to hearken on it. It helps you to, and this is the hard part. This is the thing that sucks because I know a lot of people love it, but like it helps to try and like get with the times and learn the advancements so you have a place in that new world. And with artists, I think there's more of an ability to do that, unlike people who have devoted their whole lives to some like niche skill like trucking. I think with artists like naturally have like the more creative aspects to change and to like learn new styles and ways of doing things.
And that's actually what prompted this entire series was like as an artist I felt that my world was relatively insulated, at least within my lifetime, from automation and AI. Like there's a CGP Grey video of that humans need not apply. Robots are coming for all your jobs. Anything that can be automated will be automated. And I
Yeah.
thought, okay, in the creative fields, we are the most insulated. And then Midjourney came out, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm done tomorrow, right? Like it really, it was all of a sudden the wolf was at my door dealing with my shit, and that's the way I feel a lot of the art community reacted, is they felt like they were protected from this somehow, and it was in fact not the case. Is like, and let's be honest, like let's really be honest about a lot of creative work. Let's say you're writing a book. The vast majority of writing a book is just putting one word after another. It's not,
Yeah.
it's drudgery, right? If you could just talk to the AI and it could, handle some of that drudgery for you, why wouldn't you want that?
No, exactly. And to your point, fuck me. That was a whoo.
Don't die on camera.
I'm sorry.
That
I'm
would be
sorry. You
terrible.
continue. Like that water flushed some things out of my system. I'm sorry, Chad. I'm sorry. Whew.
I feel like there's an aspect of that as it relates to the creation of art. No matter what your medium is, like you are fighting a the space and the entropy that exists between your idea that it exists in your brain and the finished product. And like you having something to facilitate that is going to, we are going to be able to create more and interesting and better and all these other things that have subjective values to it. So like the idea that we should not do that because, like, and again, like I can't go as far as saying fuck the art community because they don't have to eat so that I can do these things. I want them to eat. The problem is something not related to the thing that we're talking about. It's capitalism.
I think the issue is because like you said, like no one wants the artist to go hungry and not eat. I think the thing is the artists need to realize, because it's not like a fuck you, it's just that you're going to eat. Like this isn't going to take your job. It's here. It's here, and you might have noticed a small bit, but that's not because people are using GPT. That's because times are tough. Eggs cost $5. Like
Right.
there are other reasons, capitalism at hand, that go into the reason people may not be buying art at the commission prices that you are setting that are fair.
Mhm.
Because human art requires human pay. So that's not the issue, but it cannot be ignored that when you have this tool to help you create things at a faster rate, that should be utilized. And I think that it's like the fear of new technology that we've been talking about for the last couple of minutes that like is really getting in the art community's head, especially now that it's gunning for our little bit of capitalism. Because I'll tell you one thing, can I ask you a question? Do you
Yeah,
make
yeah.
money from your art?
Like if I aggregated it across all the things I've ever created and all the things I've ever sold, I'm going to say no.
You've sold art though?
I have sold art.
Okay. Is that like a regular thing?
Well, we had the pandemic and it was a regular thing and now it isn't.
Yeah, fair, because of,
Yeah,
the
I get
the,
the
the
thing.
pandemic solved.
Let me do another artist thing. Is like I get a great deal of interest in my work, but when it comes time to talk money, then it's just not there, right?
It's the disappearance. It's the
Yeah.
ghosting. Yeah, and that's the thing I understand, because like I'm a someone who doesn't really make money from their art. So for me, like I think the capitalist aspect of it, of like knowing that like there is this quote unquote the competition to your cash flow. I think that fear overrides like the more creative, logical parts of our brain that's like, oh, let me try this out and see like what we can put in it. It's more or less, no, people are going to use this instead of coming to me. Why would they come to me if they can just use this in 5 minutes? Why would they come to me? It's going to take them a week if they can do this in like a day. Oh no. But like that comes when you know that like people are coming to your art. They want the money. You know, there's the money in it. I don't get commissions, so for me it's like cool. This helps me put out art at a faster pace. So maybe one day, hopefully, possibly, I can get commissions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I view it. So I think the capitalist aspect that people aren't talking about is a big reason that there is like the anti the anti AI sentiment. And I don't think it's like because these people are capitalist. I think it's because they're afraid of what capitalism might do.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like rest in peace typesetters. I think they're afraid they might be the next one. They might be the next, like, street sweeper guy. One day you're there, one day you're not because you have this new thing. When we're talking about like the creative nature, the creative field, that's something that I don't think AR is going to replace. I think it might be a good tool like the brush or the pencil, but I don't think it's going to fully replace like the human creativity and our want and need for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just going to transform where we incorporate, the AI tool into it, like you said earlier.
Yeah, and like again, like I am not taking shots at anybody within the artist community who might come
No,
across
not
as
at all.
VOD or anything else. I just really want you to have better arguments. I want you to understand what is the actual issue that you are running into. Is it that the AI art just sucks, or whatever, or is it actually that there are fundamental issues of questions that you're not asking that really need to be addressed? Like, if I can radicalize the art community, who tends radical to begin with, but if I can radicalize the art community through causing them to address their own material conditions, then my work here will have not been in vain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you. I think for me, it's not so much as about the radicalization, because like I get that. I think it's about the realization.
Mm-hmm.
Because the realization will lead to radicalization. I think it's about just opening up people's eyes. Like, you realize, like, this isn't putting you out of the job, it's giving you another tool.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
No problem.
Because, again, like, when I look at this shit, it's no competition. Like, if I want art that's more anatomically correct without the 5 fingers and the 86 teeth and like the 3 eyes, like, yes, I will commission a person. When I want art that I actually want to put out and be proud of and be like, yeah, this is my character, I'll commission a person. But when it comes to AI art, like, it is good for people who don't have the money to do that and who don't necessarily have the skill, because we can't disregard the thing in the art community where like low grade art after a certain age is kind of made fun of and derided, and people do want to avoid that.
Mm-hmm.
So when we take into like the broad art community and all of the things that happen into it, like I think we need to realize as the artist community that it's not a threat. It's just another tool coming along, and the fear of the capitalist incentives that go into the replacement and automation of jobs. The studios are gonna hop onto it, but they're going to have to incorporate the human touch to it because it's not perfect. Because it'll never be perfect in the human eye. Nothing is ever perfect to us. Like, we'll always find some mistake, and we'll always need some bit of editing and some tools and some like human touch up. So like I think once we realize that, you'll see a boon of artists utilizing this tool to its full capacity, and the creation of more spectacular art will be something like we've never seen before because it'll be put out at such a high rate.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that is an encapsulation of our entire discussion. Is there anything else you might want to touch on before we go, or do you want to keep going?
Not really. I was literally like I was just coming here because like vibe with you.
Right on. I look forward to the opportunity to talk with you again. I really think Paradigm his what he's working on with his discourse chamber is going to give people more of an opportunity to have good conversations rather than this performative debate, and it will be up to you, the viewers, right? Like, who are watching this or watching this now, watching the VOD. If you want good content, you're going to have to support it, right? Like, if you want, I mean, we could have just spent the last hour and a half, hurling insults at each other and making fun of each other's parentage, and it would have been, moderately entertaining, but
old man versus black kid, right? Like, you call me a slur, and then I call you a Trump supporter, and then we just rake in the cash and just count money together.
Right. But I mean, nobody says that they want that, right? But then the numbers indicate maybe something else. I'm just saying, I'm not judging. You do you.
Maybe we can do a little bit of that as before we end it, because we were hitting on that a little bit before we got, but the proclivity towards violent media. Let's not just limit it at debate politics, right? Because
Sure.
there is the thing where we like violence. We're a violent species. I don't think that can be denied. And the 20,000, 50,000 years of Homo sapiens, and then the 2 million, 3 million years of Homo sapiens as a species, like humans in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, it's another one of those weird dichotomies that humanity functions under. We are an incredibly social species. Everything that we have created is driven by that, and at the same time, we are capable of great anger and violence to each other, like the same people. Not to invoke the Nazis, but Hitler was an artist, right? Like, he encapsulated those two aspects of himself within that kind of thing. So it's like there is something to be fixed within that human condition where we figure out what the fuck is going on with us, and this is another question that related to the socialist utopia, right? Like, let's say we get to the socialist utopia.
Oh yeah, Globus and Pyro searching for the truth. I love it. In
that socialist utopia, if your needs are met, right, like all those kind of things, you're not going to starve. You have housing and all this stuff. When we start eliminating a bunch of the struggles, right? Like, how is that going to reflect on our art and the things that we create, right? Like, we look at, whatever great writer or great artist, and they often have tragic backstory, and it was overcoming that tragic backstory or existing within those terrible conditions that lent them the ability to create these great works of art. Is there something about the loss of that it's like, are we okay with that loss because we won't need to talk about that human condition anymore? Or will we lose something? Go ahead.
Well, I think my thing, and I was going to go on a completely different tangent, so I will. I think when it comes to the utopia, the socialist utopia, we eliminate all struggle from society. I think it doesn't really impact art for the sole purpose of that idea is asinine. Like, we're never going to eliminate struggles because, as we see in society, we always find new ones, right? Like, we don't have to go through the struggles of the ancient Egyptians, dealing with raids from the sea peoples and their society collapsing, and we don't have to deal with the struggles of these ancient, but we still have struggles of our own. So I think as society evolves and like if we reach a point in time where capitalism ends, there will still be struggles within humanity that will still influence our art. So like I'm not particularly too worried about that. But to answer your question, I don't think we're okay with that. I don't think that like if the option is like we have to struggle and fight and tear each other apart to make art, music, read literature that's worth reading, I don't think we would choose to live in a society that's perfect because we don't really do well with stagnation as the creative species that fought its way out of our more brutish and like, prehistoric upbringing. Like we came from a place where we had to kind of cooperate and bring ourselves up and like fight nature to survive, so like the violence is kind of incorporated into us, which is why like I like this conversation because I
Mhm.
don't think it's something we're ever going to get rid of. I think it's something that like as our species like we get more strategic, we get more like smart, we get more like intelligent, like our violent natures may be suppressed, but we're always going to have these outbursts, and we see that in the society around us. Like best time in history to live, and we still have these amazing outbursts of complete senseless violence, like what's going on in Ukraine and the mass shootings that go on in America. Complete senseless violence, and a part of me thinks that like it's just a little bit of our nature that can't let it go.
Mhm.
Because you ask anyone, you go down individually, they know, like, yeah, no, killing people's not really the answer. It's not going to solve anything. Like, you'll just get, but like, we do it anyway.
Mhm.
We do it anyway.
Do-
So, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
Oh, no,
if
I
you.
was just going to try and like bridge the silence. Go ahead. I, I was taking a
Same
cue after
page.
you.
Yep. Um, Tangenting off that, like, do you see? Some people have and some people haven't. Do you see technology as an extension of our evolution? Like, the concept of transhumanism and cybernetics and these kind of things.
Ooh. I'm upset that I lost like half my viewers, but like yes. But I have a fear. I have a unique fear for technology and the extension of humanism that it gives us.
Mm,
I think that because it's artificial and it doesn't necessarily happen internally,
mm,
it's a bit outside of our control.
mm,
And the technology that we have developed, I think, is ahead of our current social cohesion.
mm,
And as we have weapons that can exterminate most life on Earth, we have scientific abilities and technologies that can be used to effectively make some of the sci-fi utopias, but our current monkey Neanderthal brains are like, duh, lying in sand should be here, but lying in sand there, so let's fight about it.
mm,
Uh, you see different man in sky than I do, so we fight about it. Like we're still wrapped up in seemingly tribal shit when
mm,
you look at the advanced technology we have, and I fear that like that bit of extension that we've gifted, that like cohesion and intelligence has been gifted upon us, it's gonna bite us in the ass because the final war is gonna be probably a misunderstanding that could have been solved with talking, and then someone's ego got hurt.
mm,
But the technology we have isn't quite sentient enough to put those protections in to say, yo, take a chill pill and then press the button. It's just going to do the thing that we programmed it to do.
mm.
So I think like those are kind of the fears I have when I think of like technology as the extension of humanism. But as overall, I think it is. I think like technology helps us understand like the natural world, better understand our boundaries and like brings us together more as a species if we would allow it.
Mm. Yeah, it's one of the aspects of not having had the time to sit down and talk with you earlier is um, every so often I catch a snippet of things that like you want to talk about, like Doctor Who, and you want to talk about the different aspects of sci-fi, and you and I think are on the same page with a lot of our nerdism, and I
Listen,
definitely.
I'm good to go for how long you want, man.
I unfortunately only have so much time because I'm not young and I have like housewife, kid things to deal with. But I definitely like leaving that off for a future conversation.
Yeah.
I think that, getting together with, a bunch of our fellow nerds to talk about nerd shit will be good content. But yeah, no, to wrap this up, it was been a pleasure talking to you. Again, I will shout you out in my chat.
No problem.
If you want to tell people who you are and where they can find you.
My name is the Pyro Tyrant. I'm kind of new to streaming. I've been around in the community for a while though. Like if you've seen any of the Prime Kai's panels, like I've probably been there in chat chilling. I'm relatively a leftist guy, but like I'm just here to have conversations and explore, like, talk to new people like Globus here and whatnot. Just get a general vibe going. If you've liked the vibe, you've liked anything I've said, like please hit me up on twitch.tv/the Pyro Tyrant,
This
or
name
if you
keeps
want to
coming up
follow me
over
on
and over
Twitter,
again. Every
it's,
day, Pepe's mail's getting sent back to me. Pepe Sylvia, Pepe Sylvia. I look at the mail. Look, this
please
whole
feel
box is
free to hit
Pepe
me up and
Sylvia.
follow, because like I'd appreciate having you guys here. I'm gonna do a stream tomorrow at around 7 p.m. Might cover some news and stuff, but primarily we're going to be looking at like some history tube videos and whatnot. And I like doing the thing whenever they mention a primary source, I pause the video and I go through to find the source and like read along with it. So like we'll be doing a little bit of that tomorrow with like Knowing Better and Cynical Historian. And if you're interested in stuff like that, like please give me a follow, and don't be afraid to comment, because like I don't bite. But yeah, thank you Globus for having me.
Absolutely my pleasure. And to the audience, like if you want this kind of content, it's up to you to support it, right? We're going to be out here doing our thing, but like if you want to get people like Pyro on the front page, you got to support, you got to back them up, you got to do the thing. And that's we're out here creating because we love it, but a couple bucks in our pocket doesn't hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We live under capitalism. All right, my friend, I will catch you soon, I hope.
Oh yeah, sure. And if any of you guys want to pop over to my stream, I'm gonna be playing Gundam for a little bit, and we might start a little bit on the the history stuff and a little bit as well. See how long I can keep going.
All right, my friend, you take care.
All right, you have a good one, man.
All right, folks. That is me. I hope you have enjoyed the stream, in spite of what I see is 42,673 dropped frames for some ungodly reason. Thank you, Twitch. Thank you to all the new followers today. I appreciate you. Shout out James from the internet again for bringing your community over here. I hope that everyone has enjoyed the experience. Oh, la 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 la. No, 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 no. All right, I guess I'm gonna raid into the Pyro Tyrant. I know he said Gundam, and like video games is not for everybody. Video game streams, but like sometimes you go through the video game stream, like Paradigm all the time. Is it the variety of different stuff? Again, I think the paradigm shift is the Jackson Pollock of Twitch, and I think that once you understand the style, it all makes sense and it's wonderful. In the meantime, drink some water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot. Chuggy loves you. So do I.